It began on an ordinary morning. The sky over Earth was calm, cities were alive, and people were busy with their daily lives. No one knew that this day would be remembered as the day the world changed forever. At 7:43 a.m. Universal Time Coordinated, all communication satellites stopped sending signals. Every phone call, every radio, every internet server went silent at the same time. Air traffic control screens went black, television channels froze, and the entire planet entered a strange quiet. At first, people thought it was a global system failure. Engineers rushed to check the networks. The United Nations Emergency Channel tried to broadcast, but even their backup transmitters were dead. It was as if something above Earth had swallowed every signal. In a small observatory in Chile, Dr. Marcus Hale looked at his radar screen in confusion. The sky was clear, but the satellites he usually tracked had vanished. Not destroyed, not drifting, just gone. Their signals ended in a perfect straight line around Earth, like someone had cut the invisible threads holding the planet's voice. He called his assistant, Anna, but the phone had no signal. He tried the landline, but the line was dead too. He turned to the old shortwave radio, the kind that survived even after disasters. When he turned it on, there was no static. Only silence. Absolute, unnatural silence. Meanwhile, in New York, a news drone recorded strange events in the sky. Thin lines of light moved high above the clouds, slow and quiet, like glowing scars. They were not planes, not meteors, and not satellites. The lights pulsed in rhythm, forming circles that expanded and faded again. People gathered on rooftops, recording with phones that could not upload anything. In every city, in every country, people stared at the same pattern. The lights appeared only for a few minutes, then disappeared. But when they vanished, the silence stayed. Hours passed. Governments tried to make contact with one another through military radios, but the signals never reached beyond the atmosphere. Scientists called it the silence event. No one knew if it was a natural phenomenon or an attack. By evening, fear had replaced confusion. In Washington, the Pentagon used its last functioning secure network to send one final message to all major bases: assume communication blackout. Prepare for unknown contact. In the darkness of the Pacific Ocean, the crew of a nuclear submarine named Artemis waited for orders that never came. Commander Reed tried to connect to headquarters, but no response came through. He stood in silence, staring at the sonar screen that now showed strange echoes above the surface, large, slow-moving shapes that did not match any known vessel. Reed ordered the crew to surface. As Artemis broke through the ocean waves, the crew saw the night sky filled with faint, moving lights. They were arranged in a perfect grid, covering the stars. It looked like a net, a glowing net wrapped around Earth. No one spoke. The crew just watched as the lights shimmered once, then turned red for a moment before going dark again. Reed felt a chill. He had seen war, he had seen storms, but this was different. It felt like being watched. At the same moment, Dr. Marcus Hale finally noticed something on his radar. A pulse signal had appeared, one single tone repeating every 10 seconds. It wasn't random. It was organized, coded, and intelligent. He began to record it. The pulse came from deep space, but not from any known star system. It was heading directly toward Earth. Marcus whispered to himself, "Someone answered us." But then he froze. Because he remembered something from 20 years ago, a forgotten experiment by the United Nations Science Division. It was called Project Echo. Humanity had sent a deep space signal, a message to anyone listening beyond the stars. It was a friendly message, a call for peace, encoded with human DNA, languages, and culture. Project Echo had been shut down because no one answered. Until now. As the pulse continued, the radar room lights flickered. The computer screens showed strange symbols, not from any known language. Marcus tried to disconnect the system, but the power in the building dimmed. The signal wasn't just coming to them, it was spreading across every electronic device still connected to power. The signal was alive. In London, power grids started to fail one by one. The entire city went dark, and people stood on the streets looking up at the silent sky. Then, from the darkness, came a sound like thunder, but deeper. It rolled across the world like a heartbeat. One beat every minute. The earth itself was echoing. Marcus recorded everything, whispering into his recorder, If anyone finds this, know that the silence was not natural. Something is here. Something is listening. Then, for the first time in 12 hours, a voice came through the static of his radio. It was faint, mechanical, and not human. It said, "We received your message." The transmission ended, and the silence returned. But it was no longer peaceful. It was the silence before something big, something that would decide if Earth would survive the message it had sent. The world did not sleep that night. No one could. Every person who still had a working radio, speaker, or machine heard the same voice repeat the same words again and again. "We received your message." Then, silence followed for exactly 1 minute. After that, the same line played once more. It was calm, cold, and emotionless. In the observatory, Dr. Marcus Hale sat beside the broken equipment. The computers were gone, burned by the strange pulse. Only the tape recorder still worked. He replayed the message again, trying to find meaning in the sound. There was no threat in it, but something about the voice felt heavy, like it carried a weight older than humanity. He looked outside. The sky still glowed faintly with the same red lines. It looked like someone had drawn circles across the night. For the first time, Marcus felt like Earth was inside something's cage. Far away, deep under the mountains in Colorado, the U.S. Strategic Command had switched to full lockdown. General Walker stood before the dark screen where once the world map had glowed. The satellites were gone, but radar stations had begun picking up something new, hundreds of objects above the atmosphere, motionless, perfectly aligned. "Could be debris," one officer said. Walker shook his head. "Debris doesn't move in formation." The officer swallowed hard. "Then what are they?" Before Walker could answer, the sound system came alive. The same voice played again through every speaker in the bunker. This time, there was a second sentence. "We are coming to meet you." The officers froze. Some looked at one another, unsure if they heard it right. Walker didn't blink. He simply said, "Prepare for first contact." On the surface, panic had already spread. Without internet or news, rumors turned wild. Some said aliens were already walking among them. Others believed it was an AI rebellion. A few thought God himself had answered. Cities turned chaotic. Lights flickered, machines failed, and human fear filled the empty silence that the world once took for granted. In the Pacific Ocean, the submarine Artemis continued to drift. Commander Reed stood on deck under the glowing sky. The ocean was calm, too calm. He watched one of the lights above the clouds begin to move. It wasn't falling, it was descending, slowly, silently, straight down toward Earth. Reed called his crew to the periscope room. The radar showed a massive object entering the atmosphere. It moved without sound, without heat, without resistance. Reed had seen meteors before, but this was different. The object didn't burn. It glided, as if the air itself made way for it. He whispered, "It's controlled." The crew waited, watching the radar. Then, the signal vanished, not because it was gone, but because it had stopped sending any reflection. It had gone invisible. On the other side of the world, Marcus Hale watched as his radar came alive again for a second. A single new dot appeared, directly over the Pacific Ocean. He calculated its size. It was at least 30 kilometers long. A shape that large shouldn't even stay in the air. Yet it hovered. He turned to his old notebook, where he had written about Project Echo. That experiment had sent not just data, but also coordinates, the exact location of Earth. They had given the universe an address. Marcus realized it too late. They hadn't just sent a message. They had invited something. Hours later, the skies over the Pacific split apart. Clouds twisted like smoke as a deep red glow spread across the horizon. Fishermen from small islands saw a shadow rise from the ocean. It looked like a mountain, dark and smooth, reflecting no light. But it moved. The Artemis crew watched in horror as the water around them began to pull toward the rising shadow. Reed shouted for engines to full power, but the submarine barely moved. The ocean itself was being pulled by a force they couldn't see. Then they heard it. A low hum, like the sound of the earth breathing. Every compass on the ship spun wildly. Reed tried to stabilize the controls, but nothing worked. Suddenly, the red glow faded, and the sea became still again. The massive shadow disappeared from sight. Only the radio came alive with that same voice once more. Do not be afraid. We have come to return your signal. Marcus heard it too, now broadcast everywhere electricity still existed. He tried to respond through his radio, yelling, "Who are you? What do you want?" The reply came after a pause. To meet the makers of the message. To see if you are ready. Then the connection ended again. By dawn, something new appeared in the sky. It looked like a moon, silver and calm, but it wasn't the moon. It hung lower, huge and silent, blocking the stars. People all over the planet watched it appear. Scientists confirmed it was not a natural body. It had entered stable orbit around Earth. Marcus sat quietly in his dark observatory. He understood what this meant. Whatever had arrived wasn't just visiting. It had chosen to stay. He pressed record one last time and said softly, "This is how it begins. The day Earth stopped being alone." Outside, the new moon pulsed once, sending a ripple of light across the night. Machines everywhere flickered back to life. Radios buzzed with strange whispers, in thousands of human languages, all saying the same word, prepare. And humanity finally understood. The silence was over. The real conversation had just begun. The new moon stayed above Earth like a silent guardian. For 3 days it did not move, did not spin, and made no sound. But every night at the same hour, it glowed with a soft silver light that spread across the clouds. People began calling it the second moon. At first, fear ruled the planet. Borders closed, planes stopped flying, and cities went dark to hide under the sky. But when the lights from the second moon reached the ground, something strange happened. Machines that had stopped working suddenly started again. Power grids returned. Radios came alive. But every screen showed the same message in every language: we come in peace. Stay calm. Dr. Marcus Hale had not slept in days. He stayed in the observatory, watching the signal patterns from the second moon. They weren't random. The lights flashed in mathematical sequences, almost like someone was trying to teach humanity something. Marcus recorded the pattern and realized it matched one of the messages from Project Echo, the one that contained the atomic structure of hydrogen. The aliens were replying with the same pattern, as if saying, "We understood you." He whispered, "They learned our language." In Washington, General Walker stood inside the war room, staring at the live feed from ground telescopes. The second moon's surface had begun to change. Circular openings appeared on its lower side, glowing with blue light. Walker's scientists said they weren't weapons, they looked more like doors. Walker didn't trust that. He had seen enough wars to know that peace never came from the sky without a price. He ordered the deployment of 2 unmanned drones toward the object. The world watched live as the drones reached orbit. They sent clear images of the massive structure. It wasn't a moon at all. It was a ship. A city-sized machine made of silver and crystal, floating perfectly still above the Earth. Its surface was covered with moving symbols that glowed like veins of light. The drones moved closer. Then, without warning, both screens went black. A single line of text appeared before the feed ended: observation acknowledged. The message wasn't from the drones. It came from the ship. For the first time, humanity realized that whatever was up there was not only aware of them but also in full control. On the ground, strange events began to happen. Across several countries, small points of light appeared in the air, blue spheres that hovered silently. People who approached them described hearing a soft hum, like whispering voices. The spheres projected images into the air, strange landscapes, stars, and symbols. In Tokyo, one of the spheres appeared above a crowded street. Everyone stopped. The sphere expanded, and from it stepped a figure. It was tall, slender, and glowing faintly from within, like light shaped into a body. Its face was calm, with no mouth or eyes, just smooth silver skin that reflected everything around it. The crowd froze. The figure raised its hand, and the same voice from the radio spoke, but now directly into their minds. "We are the responders. We come from the deep silence. We followed your call." News spread quickly. The same beings appeared in many places: London, Cairo, New York, Beijing. They didn't attack. They didn't speak again. They just watched, scanning the cities, touching the ground as if studying it. In the observatory, Marcus received a direct signal. His computer, which had been dead, suddenly turned on. A message flashed across the screen. Dr. Marcus Hale, sender of Echo, your request for contact is fulfilled. Marcus froze. How do they know my name? He whispered. Before he could react, his speakers came alive. We received your voice 20 years ago. You invited us to your home. We have come to answer. He swallowed hard. What do you want from us? To see if you survived your own noise, the voice said. Marcus frowned. Noise. Your wars. Your machines. Your silence. You sent a message of peace, but your world screams pain. The lights in his observatory flickered. The message continued. We came not to destroy, but to decide if your voice should continue in the deep silence. Marcus understood then, these beings were judges. They had not come only to meet humanity, but to decide if humanity deserved to keep speaking to the stars. Meanwhile, in orbit, something massive began to move beneath the alien ship. A smaller craft detached from it, dark and sharp, like a blade of light. It descended toward Earth slowly, heading straight for the Pacific Ocean. Commander Reed on the Artemis saw it on radar first. It's back, he said quietly. The same signature as before. The smaller craft entered the water without making a sound. Moments later, the sea around it began to glow. Reed stared in disbelief as the ocean floor showed bright patterns spreading outward in circles. Sir, one of his officers whispered, it's drawing something down there. And it was. A massive pattern of symbols glowing beneath the ocean, the same symbols that covered the alien ship. Above the water, lightning flashed without thunder. Reed looked up and saw the clouds swirl into a spiral above the area. Something was forming. Back in Washington, Walker's command room went red with alarms. Satellite fragments still in orbit showed a power surge across the planet's magnetic field. General, a scientist said, panic in her voice, whatever they're doing, it's interacting with Earth itself. They're rewriting something in our atmosphere. Walker clenched his fists. Then we need to know why. No one had an answer. On the fourth night, the second moon glowed again, brighter than ever before. Every radio on Earth came alive, carrying the same words in the same calm voice. The test begins. And the world held its breath. The world went silent again after the message. No more lights, no signals, no sound from the second moon. For a few hours, everything seemed calm. People waited, afraid to move, afraid to speak. Then, the sky changed. A wave of light spread from the second moon down toward Earth, invisible to the eye but strong enough to make every compass, every watch, and every machine react. Power flickered, lights blinked, and then the temperature dropped everywhere at once. Dr. Marcus Hale stood outside the observatory, feeling the cold wind cut through the night. Frost began to form on the grass though it was summer. He looked up and saw the stars blur, as if the atmosphere itself had turned to glass. His instruments showed something impossible. Earth's magnetic field was changing shape. He whispered, they're rewriting our planet. In Washington, General Walker's command center turned chaotic. Reports came in from all over the world. The oceans had started to behave strangely. Tides were shifting in unnatural patterns, and the aurora lights now reached the equator. Walker ordered every defense unit on standby, even though he knew bullets and missiles would be useless against gods from the sky. Then came the second phase of the test. At first, people thought it was an earthquake. The ground trembled, and deep beneath the surface came a sound, like thousands of drums echoing from the Earth's core. But it wasn't random. It followed a rhythm, a code. Every tremor had a pattern. Marcus watched the data scroll across his screen and realized something terrifying. The tremors were responding to the noise of human activity, factories, engines, even heartbeats. The planet was being scanned through its own vibration. The aliens were listening to every human sound. Across the globe, power went down again. This time, it didn't come back. Cars stopped, cities went black, and communication died completely. The only light left was from the sky. The second moon pulsed once more, sending a soft silver glow over the planet. And then came the voice. Humanity, your noise is loud. Your hearts are restless. We see your fire and your fear. We ask one question, what is your purpose? No one could answer. The message was broadcast into the minds of every human being. Some screamed, others fell to their knees. The voice wasn't angry. It was curious, almost like a teacher waiting for a student to speak. In the submarine Artemis, Commander Reed gripped the metal railing as the voice echoed through the walls. He felt it in his bones. "What is your purpose?" he repeated quietly. The crew looked at him, frightened. "Sir, what do we say?" one asked. Reed didn't know. But then he remembered his daughter's words before he left for duty. "Dad, promise me you'll keep everyone safe." He stood tall and said to no one and everyone at once, "Our purpose is to survive. To protect each other. To keep fighting no matter what." At that same moment, the sensors on the ship flickered back to life. The systems that had been dead for days suddenly powered up again. It was as if something had heard him, and approved. Above the ocean, the alien ship glowed brighter. For a brief moment, the second moon shimmered with blue light instead of silver. In the observatory, Marcus noticed the same change. "It's reacting," he whispered. "They're listening to us." For the first time, he felt hope. Maybe the test wasn't about destruction. Maybe it was about understanding humanity's heart. But not everyone thought the same. In secret underground bases, world leaders decided to act. They gathered what was left of Earth's defense systems, experimental railguns, EMP warheads, and a few hidden space weapons to strike the alien ship. They called it Operation Dawn. General Walker didn't like it, but he knew humans couldn't sit and wait forever. "If this is a test," he said, "then let's show them what we are made of." At sunrise, Operation Dawn began. From the deserts, from submarines, from secret bases, missiles rose into the sky. Dozens of them. They aimed straight for the second moon. The world watched as streaks of light crossed the heavens. But before they could reach the target, every missile stopped mid-air. They hung there, frozen, like insects trapped in amber. The sky flashed once, and the missiles disintegrated into dust. Then came the voice again, colder this time. "Your fear creates violence. Violence creates silence. You were warned." Lightning struck across continents. Energy waves cut through cities, shutting down everything. The ground shook again, stronger than before. Marcus fell to his knees as the observatory roof cracked. He screamed, "Stop! Please! You wanted to understand us, then look at us. We fight because we fear what we don't understand. But we also protect, we build, we dream." For a long moment, the world was quiet. Then, a different voice spoke, softer, almost human. "Dr. Hale. We hear you." He froze. You know my name." "Yes," the voice said. "You were the first to speak. You sent the call. You will be the one to answer." The clouds outside the observatory began to swirl, and a beam of silver light descended from the sky, surrounding the building. Marcus shielded his eyes as the ground lifted around him. The voice spoke again. "Come with us. You will show us your world. You will show us your purpose." And before he could reply, he was gone. The light vanished, and the silence returned. But this time, it wasn't global, it was personal. The man who sent humanity's message was no longer on Earth. In the command centers, the screens flickered one last time with new words. "The test continues." Marcus woke up inside a place that looked like light made solid. The walls were smooth and shining, shifting like liquid glass. There was no door, no window, and no gravity. He floated in the air, weightless, confused and cold. His breath formed small clouds that disappeared too fast. For a moment, he thought he was dead. But then a sound filled the space, like 1,000 whispers at once, soft but everywhere. The voice spoke again, calm and distant. "Welcome, Marcus Hale. You are inside the resonant core." He turned in slow circles, searching for the source. "Who are you? Where am I?" "We are the responders. You are aboard the vessel that answered your world's call." Marcus looked around, trying to understand. "Why bring me here? What do you want from me?" "To understand your kind," the voice said. "Your message promised peace. Yet your world burns. We must know if you are truth or noise." The air shimmered, and suddenly he was no longer floating. The room changed shape, becoming solid ground beneath his feet. In front of him appeared figures made of light, tall, thin beings whose bodies pulsed with energy. Their faces were blank, but their movement felt alive, curious, and almost gentle. Marcus took a breath. If this is a test, then ask me. Don't destroy my world for answers. One of the light beings stepped closer. Its body shifted, forming a faint human outline. A voice came from it, softer than before. You misunderstand. The test is not of destruction. It is of reflection. What does that mean? Marcus asked. The being lifted its hand, and the space around him turned into a moving image, Earth seen from orbit. He saw the cities flickering, oceans glowing, and the second moon shining above. Then the image zoomed closer, showing people, scared, angry, hopeful. Some helped each other, some fought. Every world we meet must face its own truth, the being said. Some worlds collapse. Some rise. We only observe. We measure what remains when silence arrives. Marcus stared at the scenes. In one city, soldiers were helping children out of broken buildings. In another, strangers were sharing food and light. The world was hurting, but it was not giving up. He turned to the beings. You call it noise, but that's what we are. We fight, we fear, we fail, but we keep going. That's our music. The light flickered as if the beings were thinking. You call pain music, one of them said. Strange. Marcus smiled faintly. Maybe, but our pain means we're alive. And we learn from it. The beings stayed silent for a while. Then one said, show us more. The floor beneath Marcus opened into light again. He felt his mind pulled into a stream of memories, not just his own, but of people all over Earth. He saw firefighters running into burning towers, doctors working in the dark, soldiers protecting refugees, children holding candles in the ruins. He whispered, that's us. We fall, but we stand again. When the vision ended, the light beings stepped back. Their forms glowed brighter, almost as if they were breathing. Perhaps your world is not as lost as we thought, one of them said. Marcus frowned. Then stop the test. Let us prove ourselves in peace. But the calm voice replied, the test cannot be stopped. It must end on its own. On Earth, strange things were happening. The oceans had begun to calm. The lights from the alien ship no longer pulsed with danger but with a soft rhythm. In the cities, people started to rebuild. Without power or guidance, humans began working together. Soldiers gave food to civilians. Old enemies shared water. Humanity was quiet, but not broken. Commander Reed and his crew repaired the Artemis manually. They used emergency power to send a message across the ocean. It wasn't a military report, it was a call for unity. We're still here, Reed said into the microphone. If anyone hears this, remember, we are one species. We don't run. We don't kneel. That message spread like wildfire, repeated through battery radios and handwritten notes. It became the first spark of hope since the silence began. High above, in the alien vessel, Marcus heard the same words echo through the chamber. The beings listened quietly. The one who looked most human turned toward him. This is your strength, it said. You unite under fear. You build light from darkness. Few worlds do this. Marcus stepped forward. Then tell me the truth. What happens if we fail your test? The chamber dimmed. The voice that answered was colder. Failure means silence forever. Your signal would end. No one beyond would hear you again. And if we pass, then you will be welcomed into the deep silence. You will no longer be alone. Marcus stared at them. Then I'll make sure we pass. The light beings didn't reply, but the room glowed warmer, almost like approval. On Earth, people began to notice something new in the sky. From the second moon, small silver fragments started to fall, not weapons, but pods. When they landed, they opened like flowers, releasing clean air, pure water, and strange machines that repaired broken systems. It was as if the aliens were giving humanity a second chance. In his floating chamber, Marcus watched the images and felt something change inside him. He realized that maybe this wasn't just a test for survival. It was a test of worth, a test to see if humanity could rise without destroying itself. He whispered, "We're more than noise. You'll see." The alien being tilted its head, glowing softly. "We are beginning to." But far away, deep in the shadows of space, another light flickered, red, pulsing, and watching. Unknown to both humans and responders, something else had also heard Earth's signal. And it was coming. Dr. Marcus Hale stood near the glowing wall of the alien chamber, staring at the projection of Earth. The planet looked peaceful now, clouds swirling, oceans calm, cities slowly lighting again. For the first time in days, he felt hope. Humanity had survived the silence. The alien being beside him spoke softly, its voice like wind over glass. "Your kind is difficult to measure. Violence and compassion live in the same heart. Yet you continue." Marcus smiled faintly. "That's because we never stop. Even when we should." Before the being could respond, the light inside the room flickered. The walls darkened to red. A new sound filled the chamber, a deep, rhythmic pulse that didn't belong to the ship. The alien beings froze. Their glow dimmed. "What's happening?" Marcus asked. The main voice, the calm one that had guided him since his arrival, spoke with tension for the first time. "Another signal. It is not from your planet. It comes from beyond." Marcus felt a cold shiver. "Beyond what?" "Beyond the deep silence," the voice said. "Something else has heard you." He looked at the display as strange red symbols appeared, spinning like burning stars. They were rough, sharp, chaotic, nothing like the smooth blue lines of the responders. The alien chamber trembled. The being turned to him. "They are the harvesters." Marcus frowned. "Who are they?" The voice echoed through the chamber. "They follow the signals of young worlds. When they find a planet that speaks, they take its voice and its life." Marcus felt his stomach twist. "You mean they destroy civilizations that send messages?" "Yes. We answer to test. They answer to consume." Outside the ship, alarms echoed in tones too deep for human ears. The second moon's surface rippled as bright shields unfolded around it like metallic petals. The stars dimmed as a massive shadow approached, bigger than the alien ship, darker than the void itself. From Earth, people saw it too. A new light appeared in the sky, red and moving fast. It wasn't beautiful. It looked alive, like fire trapped inside a monster's skin. Governments had no idea what it was, but everyone felt the same fear deep inside their bones. In the Pacific, Commander Reed and his crew on Artemis saw the glow through the clouds. Reed whispered, "That's not ours, is it?" The ocean waves rose higher as the red object passed overhead. Instruments screamed, magnetic compasses failed again, and the water began to boil. The ship rocked violently. Meanwhile, inside the alien vessel, Marcus watched the responders prepare. Energy lines flared through the walls as the beings gathered in silence. For the first time, they looked afraid. "You can fight them, right?" Marcus asked. The leading being turned toward him. "They are older than us. Stronger. We can delay them, not stop them." Marcus clenched his fists. "Then let us help." "You cannot fight what you do not understand." He shook his head. "You tested us. You saw our world burn and rebuild. You wanted to know our purpose. It's this. When something stronger comes for us, we fight anyway." The alien looked at him, the faint glow of its body reflecting off his determined face. Then, without another word, it extended a beam of light toward his chest. Marcus felt a shock, but no pain. The light spread through him, connecting him to the ship's systems. Suddenly, he could see what the responders saw: energy flows, weapon arcs, the red mass approaching fast. "You are linked," the alien said. "Guide us to your planet's strength." Marcus closed his eyes, his voice calm. "Then listen closely." On Earth, hidden bunkers still held the last fragments of Operation Dawn's weapon systems, long-range particle cannons, old orbital defense satellites, and a few railguns never tested in combat. He gave the coordinates to the aliens, transferring them through the link. The responders processed the data instantly. "Your technology is weak," they said. "Maybe," Marcus replied, but it's all we have. And we know how to use it. In Washington, General Walker received an unexpected transmission, coordinates and activation codes sent from an unknown source. The message simply said, "Fire when the sky turns red." Walker stared at the code. He didn't know who sent it, but he trusted his gut. "All units," he ordered, "prepare to fire." Minutes later, the night sky turned crimson. The harvester ship arrived. It was like a black ocean made of metal and flame, with tendrils stretching out like claws. Lightning spread from its hull, striking the Earth's atmosphere. The sound that followed wasn't thunder. It was a scream. The responders fired first, beams of pure light, cutting through the void, but the harvester absorbed them. Its surface rippled and glowed brighter. Then it returned fire. The alien vessel shook violently. Marcus felt the pain through the link. He shouted, "Aim for the center mass, it feeds on energy. Hit it with kinetic force." The alien leader paused. "Impact weapons." "Yes. Hit it with matter, not light. Physical force, like our railguns." The responders quickly changed tactics. Panels opened across their ship, releasing streams of dense projectiles guided by magnetic fields. They struck the harvester's hull, breaking through the burning skin. The creature-like ship roared in response. Down on Earth, General Walker gave the order. Railguns fired. Missiles launched. Even old space debris was turned into weapons. For the first time, humanity and aliens fought together, one mind, one purpose. The harvester ship reeled as explosions lit the sky. Marcus felt every impact through the link. His heart pounded, his breath short. "We're not dying today," he whispered. "Not while I'm still here." The responder's ship focused its remaining energy into one final strike. Marcus directed the aim. "Target its core. That's where it draws its power." A beam brighter than the sun shot through the void. The harvester ship screamed one last time before breaking apart into fragments of red dust. The light faded. Silence returned. The responders stood still, their forms flickering with exhaustion. The main voice spoke softly. "You saved not only your world, but ours." Marcus smiled weakly. "No. We saved it. Together." He looked down at Earth, glowing in the darkness. "That's what humans do. We fight for anyone who stands beside us." The alien being nodded slowly. "Perhaps your noise has meaning after all." But even as peace returned, Marcus could feel it. The silence that followed wasn't empty. Somewhere beyond the stars, more signals were listening. And the universe now knew one thing for sure: Earth was not silent anymore. The red glow faded from the sky. The world looked quiet again, but everyone knew nothing would ever be the same. The harvester ship was gone, burned into dust, yet its shadow still lingered in people's hearts. Humanity had survived, and for the first time, it had not been alone. Dr. Marcus Hale stood on the landing platform of the alien vessel as it slowly descended toward Earth. The air shimmered around it, bending light like a mirage. The alien beings stood beside him, their forms weaker now, dim blue light pulsing slowly in their translucent bodies. They had lost many of their kind in the battle. Marcus looked up at the night sky. "We made it," he whispered. The alien leader, the one who had spoken for the responders, turned toward him. "You changed the outcome. Few have ever stood against the harvesters and lived. You taught us that survival is more than calculation." Marcus smiled faintly. "That's what being human means. We do the impossible because we have to." The ship touched down in a ruined field outside what used to be Denver. The city lights flickered like half-alive fireflies. Military trucks surrounded the area, soldiers aiming their weapons nervously. No one knew what to expect from the alien vessel. Then, a ramp extended, and Marcus walked down first. The soldiers froze when they saw him, burned uniform, eyes glowing faintly from the alien link. General Walker stepped forward. "Dr. Hale, is it really you?" Marcus nodded. "It's me. And it's over. We won." Behind him, the responders emerged. Their bodies shimmered like water, alien yet calm. The soldiers lowered their weapons slowly, realizing these were not enemies. Walker looked at the sky, then back at Marcus. "So, that thing. It's really gone. Marcus nodded. For now. But there might be others. Walker's face hardened. Then we'd better be ready. The alien leader floated forward. You will not stand alone again. We have seen your world's heart. You fight for more than yourselves. That is rare. Marcus looked around at the soldiers, scientists, and civilians gathering nearby. People were taking pictures, some crying, some just staring in disbelief. The silence that had once covered Earth was gone. The world was full of voices again, shouting, laughing, alive. Humanity sent a signal, Marcus said softly. We asked if anyone was out there. Now we have our answer. The alien raised a hand, and a beam of light projected into the air, a map of stars. It showed hundreds of dots, each representing a world once visited by the responders. Many of them were dark. Only a few still glowed. One of those lights pulsed brighter than all others, Earth. These worlds will hear you now, the alien said. You are the first to survive the silence. Others will come, not all as enemies. Some will seek your strength. Some will seek your help. Marcus stared at the glowing map. The universe suddenly felt enormous, and yet, for the first time, reachable. Walker crossed his arms. So what now? Do we rebuild or prepare for another war? Marcus thought for a moment. Both. We rebuild smarter. We prepare together. Days turned into weeks. The responders helped repair Earth's orbiting satellites, stabilizing the damaged systems. New networks formed, human and alien minds working side by side. Scientists began decoding alien data, unlocking technology beyond imagination. Energy sources that could power cities for centuries. Medicine that healed injuries in minutes. Communication systems that could reach other stars. But the cost was heavy. Millions were gone. Entire regions still burned. And the harvester's remains, strange red dust, had fallen across parts of the planet, glowing faintly at night like dying embers. Marcus studied the dust samples carefully. He noticed something strange. The particles were not dead. They moved, slowly, like they were alive. When exposed to certain frequencies, they reacted, almost as if trying to speak. He recorded his findings and sent them to the responders. Their reply came quickly, do not activate the fragments. They remember. Marcus frowned. Remember what? Everything they consume. That night, he couldn't sleep. He stood by the lab window, staring at the stars. He could still feel the faint pulse of the alien link inside him. Sometimes, when he closed his eyes, he could hear whispers, fragments of signals, echoes of the harvester's last scream. Maybe the silence wasn't over. Maybe it had just changed shape. The next morning, the alien leader approached him for the last time. We must leave. Others of our kind wait beyond this system. You will not see us again for many of your years. But your world will grow. Marcus nodded. And if something comes again? Then you will answer, as you always have. The alien extended its hand, light passing between them one final time. Marcus felt warmth, calm, and the faint trace of countless voices, the memory of all who had fought beside him. Then, in a flash of light, the responder's ship lifted off. It rose higher and higher until it became a star among stars. Humanity watched it disappear. For the first time in history, people looked at the night sky not with fear, but with purpose. They knew someone was out there, and someone was listening. Marcus turned to the sunrise. The sky was orange, the air cool, the city quiet. The day Earth's silence ended, he murmured, was the day we finally started to listen. But deep underground, in a sealed bunker, a forgotten piece of harvester dust pulsed faintly red, waiting. Weeks had passed since the responders left. The world was still trying to understand what had happened. Humanity was rebuilding, cities glowing again, power restored, communication lines stronger than ever. But under the calm surface, something strange was beginning to stir. Dr. Marcus Hale worked in a hidden facility beneath Colorado. It was called Project Dawnlight, a joint effort between the United Earth Command and the last of the alien technology left behind. The lab was quiet except for the soft hum of machines scanning a small container filled with red dust, the remains of the harvester. The dust pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. Every time Marcus looked at it, he felt uneasy. It wasn't just a substance, it felt aware. He ran another scan, watching strange symbols appear on the monitor. Still active, he muttered. After all this time. His assistant, Lila, frowned. Should we destroy it? Marcus shook his head slowly. We tried that. It reformed every time. It's not physical. It's data, living data. Before Lila could reply, the lights flickered. The screens glitched. For a moment, every monitor in the room showed the same thing, an eye made of red light, staring back at them. Then everything went dark. Marcus's pulse quickened. Power down the system. Now. But the computers didn't obey. A deep, distorted voice filled the lab speakers. It was mechanical, yet full of hate. You learned to speak. Now you must learn to listen. The dust inside the container began to rise, forming a twisting shape, like smoke made of burning metal. The alarm screamed as the shape solidified into a floating fragment, glowing brighter and brighter. Lila stepped back in fear. It's alive. Marcus stared at it, his heart pounding. No. It's remembering. The voice continued, echoing through the walls. You were meant to be silent. The silence was mercy. You broke it. Marcus's eyes widened. Who are you? We are the echo. The memory of what you destroyed. The red light spread across the walls, turning every surface into a mirror of fire. The shape of the harvester began to appear again, not physical, but digital, rebuilding itself through Earth's networks. Lila shouted, it's spreading through the data lines. Marcus slammed his hand on the emergency control, cutting the main power. The lights went out. For a few seconds, there was only darkness and the faint red glow of the dust. Then it dimmed and fell still. Silence. He took a deep breath. Seal this room. Nobody touches this again. But deep down, he knew it wasn't over. Outside the facility, across the world, people began noticing strange signals again. Bursts of static in communication channels, short pulses of red light appearing in satellites, whispers in the radio frequencies. In orbit, one of Earth's new satellites, built with alien technology, detected something at the edge of the solar system. A small object, moving fast, broadcasting an ancient signal. It wasn't a ship. It was a message. The signal repeated 3 words in a deep, rhythmic tone. We found you. Back in the lab, Marcus reviewed the old recordings of the harvester dust. Frame by frame, he noticed something he hadn't seen before, hidden patterns inside the light. When he enhanced the image, the shapes became clear. They were coordinates. Not in space. On Earth. He followed the data, tracing it to a location deep in Antarctica, a region that had gone dark during the silence. He stared at the map, cold fear tightening his chest. No, that's impossible. Lila leaned over. What is it? Marcus whispered, there's another source. Another signal, buried under the ice. It's been there for centuries. Before they could act, the lab doors sealed automatically. The systems reactivated on their own. The red eye appeared on the main screen again, larger this time. You broke the silence, the voice said. Now all will hear you. Marcus felt the ground tremble. Somewhere far away, something massive moved beneath the Earth's crust. The sound was deep, ancient, like the planet itself was waking up. The alarms blared. Outside, satellites began to fail one by one, showing static and fragments of the same message. The echo is awake. Marcus grabbed Lila's arm. We need to warn them. All of them. She nodded, fear in her eyes. Who? The responders are gone. Not just them, Marcus said. Everyone who can still hear us. He looked up toward the ceiling, as if staring through it at the stars. If there are others out there, anyone, they need to know what's coming. He hit the emergency broadcast control, sending a message across every available frequency on Earth. His voice trembled but stayed firm. This is Dr. Marcus Hale, Earth Command. The silence has returned. It was never meant to protect us, it was meant to hide us. And now, they're coming. The transmission spread far beyond the planet, racing through the void, reaching systems that no human had ever seen. Somewhere in the dark between galaxies, something listened. For a long time, there was no reply. Then, across the stars, a new voice answered, soft but powerful. Earth. We heard you. The signal ended. The screen went black. Outside, the dawn began to rise again, painting the sky gold. People looked up, not knowing what was coming next. The day Earth's silence ended was only the beginning.